Welcome back to the news at 10. The NNPC says there's no iota of truth in the news making the rounds that the organization has reduced the pump price of fuel. The group general manager of the NNPC, Ohialegbe, told Channels Television today that stories about the pump price being reduced have gone viral, but he maintained that the pump price of petrol remains 87 naira per litre. He calls the rumor the handiwork of detractors, saying that the NNPC is not contemplating price reduction right now. And for the first time in the history of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the financial statement of the body was made public. $607.8 million is said to have been paid to the Federation account for the year 2015, and this is from the sale of export oil and gas. The new Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Dr. Ibe Kachuku, says transparency is the watchword for his administration. Indeed, most of the policies now being implemented by the NNPC might not be new, as the Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, that's NATI, had for years faulted the method adopted in running the NNPC. Joining me on the news at 10 is one of the directors of NATI, Dr. Obunnaya Oji. Thank you so much for joining us on the news at 10 tonight.
Thank you very much.
Now, in the financial report made public, there was a breakdown of what has been paid so far by the NNPC into the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee. Is this the sort of action that you've been talking about all this time when you were talking about transparency?
Yes, quite large. Most of the measures taken so far by the NNPC, new management in NNPC, towards inspire some hope and some level of optimism. And we do think that this is the right way to go. And welcome, and we have publicly acknowledged the measures so far, although we have been following the whole developments with a lot of caution.
Okay, looking at the NNPC today, what is NATI's position on how it can best be run and structured?
Well, we think there is need to pay more attention to give some urgent need to restructure the issue of domestic crude allocation. These are some of the issues we have flagged off in our various reports, independent reports of the sector, which we have highlighted over the years, but which most of this period have not been given the desired attention. We think that at the moment, daily allocation of 445,000 barrels of crude oil to NNPC for local consumption, when we are aware that the refineries are not working up to capacity, we think that needs to be reviewed. We do hope that something is already being done there, because from our audit report in 2012, the nation is losing over $1 billion from the whole transaction, from the this domestic crude allocation management. We think this needs to engage the attention of the new management team in NNPC. We also raised issues about the subsidy itself, for the fact that between 2006 and 2012, the nation has paid over $4.8 billion on subsidy. We do not think this is sustainable in a very fragile economy like ours. We think this is an area that the NNPC is already doing something, the new management team. This effort in this area needs to be intensified. We've also raised issues about the need to remit all dividends from the Nigerian liquefied natural gas, the NLNG, directly to the Federation account. This will increase the revenues that should be available for government to tackle very key critical issues of infrastructure, which our country is facing at the moment. As at the last count, the over $11.6 billion have been outstanding as monies that we confirmed that were paid by NLNG to NNPC as dividends. But we had no trace that these monies were remitted to Federation account. These are some of the areas that we think the new team need to look at. We are aware that something is already being done, but we need more information, more action needs to be done. We've also raised issues about the joint venture cash call. The joint venture needs to be restructured, and Nigeria needs to look at, the NNPC needs to guide the government to probably restructure the joint venture regime to be able to seek alternative funding arrangement. The fact that we fund the JVs from the cash cost from extra budgetary spending has put a lot of burden. Just in 2012 alone, over $7 billion was paid. This again needs to be looked into. We've also looked at the recent assignment of 8 oil wells by the NNPC to NPDC at a cost of over $1.8 billion, and for which only $100 million was paid. We have raised issues that this is, to us, not very transparent, and we think that the new team need to revisit, review the whole process, and see whether Nigeria actually got value from that transaction. For us in Haiti, we think that the oil wells were undervalued and they need to be reviewed. We also think that the time has come for us to look at installing adequate infrastructure that could enable us measure accurately the volume of crude being produced. Most importantly, there are a lot of legal agreements and memorandum of understanding (MOUs), which Nigeria, have been using in dealing with the oil companies, from under which basis computation of royalty and taxes were based.
All right.
The country is losing a lot of revenue from these expired MOUs and legal agreements.
All right.
So
I'm afraid I'll have to stop you there. I know you do have a lot more to tell us, and we'll probably have to look at that at some other forum. But I'll have to thank you, Director Public Affairs of NATI, Dr. Obunaya Oji, for joining us on the News at 10 tonight.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's move swiftly now to business news. We have Anne Wawood standing by.
You first. First Bank.
Hello and welcome to Business News. As governments and public sector operators gather in Abuja for the 21st Nigerian Economic Summit, participants are expected to deliberate on policies that will ensure sustainable growth in Nigeria. Speaking on our morning program, Business Morning, the chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, Mr. Bukari Kyari, says that policymakers need to come up with policies that will ensure growth that carries everybody along. The theme of this year's summit is achieving competitiveness, inclusive growth, and sustainability. Trade relations between Nigeria and Brazil currently stands at $10 billion. This is according to the Nigerian ambassador to Brazil, Mr. Adamu Emezizo, who spoke at a forum organized by the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission in Abuja. He says although trading with Brazil before now had been in areas of oil and gas, it is looking at facilitating investments into the agri and solid mineral sector to fast-track its socio-economic development. The Nigerian Stock Exchange ended the session today in the positive territory, with the all-share index closing at 30,231.16. Bisi Adebayo has more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Trading activities at the Nigerian Stock Exchange began the week on a slightly positive note as key indicators nudged up marginally by 0.22%. The all-share index now stands at 30,231.16 with a market capitalization of 10.38 trillion naira. Forte Oil, Mobil and Guinness were the top 3 gainers for the session, ahead of 22 other equities. On the flip side, 15 stocks shed weight, and top on that list was Nigeria Breweries with a 2 naira drop. Okomo Oil and Flour Mills of Nigeria followed with losses less than 1 naira each. Bank stocks were the top volume drivers for the session, and they include Access Bank, Diamond Bank and Zenith Bank. When the closing gong rang, investors had exchanged 134.61 million shares valued at 1.47 billion naira in close to 3,000 deals. And that's a wrap on the stock market reports. I am Bisi Adebayo.
Well, Thanks a lot, Visi. We can no longer pay lip service to the development of agriculture in Nigeria, and that's according to the management of Ajib Oil Company. The 19th Farmers' Day celebration held at the company's Green River Project plant, Obie, that's in River State. The company says it is buying with the vision of President Muhammadu Buhari in boosting agriculture in the country. Farmers in the operational areas like Rivers, Bayelsa, Imo and Delta states have benefited from the Green River Project plant of Ajib Oil.
Colorful cultural display to set the tone for the day. It's the 19th Farmers' Day celebration organized by the Nigerian Ajib Oil Company at the Green River Project plant in Obie, River State. Management and staff of the oil company, representatives of Rivers, Bayelsa, Imo and Delta states, including technical partners and other guests, join in the celebration tagged Feeding the Nation, Energy for Life.
The Farmers' Day celebration is a crowning moment under the now flagship agricultural program, the Green River Project, which has enabled the company and its JV partners to assist the communities in its areas of operations, to improve their agricultural production and to achieve food sufficiency and economic empowerment.
Our vision is that the Green River Project will become a pivot for the development of agricultural sector in Nigeria, serving as a major platform for knowledge sharing for farmer, academia, public extension service and agro-allied industry.
And it's time to take a tour of the farm village. The guests are impressed with the progress made so far.
I commend Ajib and their partners for this beautiful initiative. They are doing it right at the grassroots, and they are doing the three key things that we need to grow our agriculture. First, you need to improve productivity. Two, you need the skills, the value addition that you need to give to the farmers themselves, and that they are doing here.
For some farmers, partnering with the Green River Project has yielded positive results.
I start with 1 acre of farm. Through GRP, now my farm is up to 5.6 acre of a plantain farm. They have helped me a lot, this GRP.
With the dwindling crude oil prices in international market, organizers of the Nigerian Ajib Oil Company 19th Farmers' Day celebration believe that with the right policy support, agriculture can make a return to the mainstay of the nation's economy. Emmanuel Ere, Channels Television News.
Most major equities around the globe began the first trading day in the positive territory. Let's now see some of those market figures. Oh, that's it on Business News for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawado. Ijoma will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
You first. First Bank.
Still ahead on the news at 10, the Tigers captain Helen Ogunjimi assures basketball fans Nigeria will qualify for the 2016 Rio Olympic Games. That's on sports. To join us again.